The future of Marvel Spider-Man looks massive, with the recently cancelled DLCs revealing more about how the trilogy's story might end. Insomniac has even bigger plans for Marvel titles beyond Spider-Man 3, including some unexpected characters and games. If you want to know everything confirmed and rumored for the next Spider-Man game and beyond, make sure to stick around until the end of the video. So in case you missed the leak that came out last year, Spider-Man 2 was originally meant to include 3 DLCs as part of additional content, which were supposed to include Carnage, who was teased in one of Spider-Man 2's side missions, more Spider-Verse content, potentially tying into the storyline from the movies, as well as Beetle, a lesser-known Spider-Man villain. Now, Insomniac recently confirmed that no additional content is being planned for Spider-Man 2, meaning that those DLCs have likely been scrapped. This decision disappointed a lot of fans who claimed that the main game did not fully meet their expectations and were hoping to get some more content centered around the two Spider-Man. However, the cancellation could mean that those storylines might instead be integrated into Spider-Man 3, especially as it would otherwise leave different plotlines unfinished. If that's the case, the final game in the trilogy could be packed with content, making it easily the most ambitious in the series. If you played the second game, you know we can likely expect villains like Green Goblin, Taskmaster and Chameleon to appear, with the potential return of Dr. Octopus. And if they add Beetle and Carnage on top of that, then honestly Spider-Man 3's villain roster is shaping up to be huge. We can also assume that the Spider-Verse arc will make its way into the final game, given its unresolved storyline. That would allow Insomniac to bring other Spider-Man into play, such as Miguel O'Hara, who was already mentioned in Spider-Man 2. While I hope they don't expand on the arc too much in the next game, as it might add too much complexity to the storylines, it's still exciting to see the potential for Spider-Verse elements to shape any future Spider-Man titles from Insomniac. Looking back, I think a lot of people will agree with me that Spider-Man 2 did not fully meet fan expectations. Don't get me wrong, the story was solid, especially with Venom's arc, but the main game just felt a bit short, especially for a $70 title. Hopefully, if Insomniac plans to integrate the rumored DLCs into the third game, there's a real chance to end the trilogy on a high note, which would truly exceed the expectations of fans. Aside from the DLCs, the ending of Spider-Man 2 gives us some strong hints about the direction of the story in the final game. The final scenes suggest that Peter Parker might no longer be the main focus, as he's now moving in with MJ and continuing work on the Emily May Foundation, which clearly indicates that he wants to step back from the superhero life. This shift hints that Miles could take the lead role in Spider-Man 3. While another option could be a separate game centered on Miles, exploring the events after Spider-Man 2, none of the leaks seem to indicate that Insomniac is working on a Miles spin-off, so I think this is quite unlikely. My guess is that Spider-Man 3 will begin with Miles as the primary Spider-Man, with certain events eventually drawing Peter back into action. One of the biggest additions in Marvel Spider-Man 3 will be the Green Goblin, arguably Spider-Man's most iconic villain. At the end of Spider-Man 2, we saw Harry Osborn die after being overtaken by the Venom symbiote, forcing Peter to kill Harry to save the city. After Harry is taken to the hospital, we see Norman request a G-serum, which likely is the reference to the Green Goblin formula, and if that's the case, it's pretty clear who's going to be the main villain of the next game. Additionally, one of the post-credit scenes in Spider-Man 2 shows Norman visiting Dr. Octopus in prison, where Doc Ock mentions writing the final chapter, hinting that the two of them might actually team up to take down the Spider-Man, and also confirming that Spider-Man 3 will likely be the conclusion of Peter's and Miles' stories. Lastly, Spider-Man 2's final post-credit scene teases the appearance of Cindy Moon, who in the comics is another spider-hero named Silk. Now, introducing her at the end of the second game is interesting, as it could indicate that she might play a major role in the final title. Although it is not yet confirmed, leaked early images from an alpha build of the game show her suit, hinting that Insomniac might even make her a playable character. If that's the case, Spider-Man 3 could primarily focus on her and Miles rather than Peter, making the playable roster in the next game even more interesting. So finally, I want to talk about the future of Insomniac and their Marvel titles. The leak not only revealed the potential content that was planned for Spider-Man 3, but it also gave more insight into the company's future plans for the IP and other possible spin-offs. Based on the leaks, Insomniac planned to release a Venom game in 2025, followed by Wolverine in 2026, Spider-Man 3 in 2028, and an X Men game in 2030. Although Insomniac's plans seem to be ambitious and huge for any Marvel fan, it is worth considering how the data breaches impacted the company. The leak exposed confidential information about its employees, potentially affecting development timelines. With 2024 nearly over and zero news about the Venom spin-off, there's a real possibility that it's been cancelled or at least delayed indefinitely. The Wolverine game was also severely impacted, with the leaks revealing several characters, gameplay mechanics and combat details. Insomniac's announcement that no DLCs are being planned for Spider-Man 2 might suggest that the company is trying to recover after the data breach, potentially putting any future titles on hold. Personally, I think the future of Insomniac is very uncertain. When the leak first came out, we found out that Insomniac was actually working on a multiplayer Spider-Man game named The Great Web, which was eventually cancelled, supposedly due to Sony's layoffs or the idea not exactly matching the studio's initial vision. So honestly, this can affect any future titles worked on by Insomniac. Hopefully though, the developments are proceeding relatively smoothly, and Insomniac will eventually bring these plans to life, as their lineup looks very promising. Let me know in the comments, what excites you the most about Insomniac's future, or are there any aspects that concern you? Thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.